Hey, this is Carl Gelf with Heavy, formerly of COC. I'm in the Skull, Legions of Doom, Patriarchs of Black. I'm just happy to be here. You got to check out Heavy Galaxy, man. That's where it's at.
All right, Heavy Galaxy Show. Matt and John back with you again for another episode, as we'd like to welcome our guest on this week's show as we're going to New York City, Brooklyn, or actually Jersey. He's in Jersey now, as he just told us. But this guy, his band Blackwater Rising just released his fourth LP, first one in 8 years, and it's no doubt been well worth that wait. Outstanding record titled The Edge. We got guitarist and frontman Rob Traynor with us. What's going on, Rob? How you doing, bud?
How are you, man? Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Awesome, man. Yeah, well, Rob, like I said, The Edge, man, what an album. We'll definitely be talking a lot about that in depth here in a little bit. But first, we want to take our listeners back a bit for when you started really getting your musical career off the ground in New York City back in the late 90s, early 2000s. With the band Dust to Dust. Obviously Brooklyn in the 90s, man, ground zero for metal in New York, L'Amour's, Typo Negative, Life of Agony, Biohazard, Candiria, all those great bands, man. So I guess start us off, just if you don't mind, just tell us a little bit about, growing up in Brooklyn with music, being around those bands I just mentioned, and, kind of how, I guess, influential a lot of them were to you.
Well, we were all basically what we're known as L'Amourons. We all hung out at L'Amour in Brooklyn. And, so as soon as I was old enough to go out to a club, I was going out to all the shows, that would come to L'Amour's, because I was a kid, young metalhead. So, I mean, I loved it all. So it was like, then you just get wrapped up in the culture and just, basically, and I was a young lad learning to play bass at the time. I was a bass player.
Okay. And
then just starting to jam with local bands. I knew all those guys, everybody you just mentioned, were all neighborhood guys, Pete, for Typo was a neighborhood guy. I used to hang out with Pete's first girlfriend. I believe that he wrote that song Black Number One. Her younger brother, I was hanging out with. And I remember when I first met Pete, I had gone over his house. It was my first year actually it was my last year in high school. And I went by his house and we were just listening to some metal. I remember we were listening to Celtic Frost, actually. Pete came walking in to the house. And he was like, yeah, that's my, I was like, it's this guy who is, was this like monster. I was this young little 130-pound, twerp with long stringy hair, little metal kid. This like, friggin' like Thor came walking in, and but he was the coolest guy even then. I mean, he introduced himself to me, and we were listening to Celtic Frost, and he was like, "Who is this?" And we were like, "This is this band Celtic Frost." And he was like, "This is cool. I like this." And we were all listening to the albums and stuff. But yeah, I mean, everybody in Brooklyn knew everybody else pretty much. It was like a tight knit community of metalheads, because there weren't that many of us really.
Mm-hmm.
So you knew, everybody kind of knew everybody. I went to Dewey High School, so I had known a bunch of people there that were metalheads. We all hung it together on the, in the park over there. And I knew everybody the early years of and then everybody would eventually go out to L'Amour, to see whoever was playing Metallica, Slayer, back then. Was coming through. Everybody up to more later on in the years, like even Guns N' Roses played. I remember seeing them at L'Amour. It's pretty amazing. So yeah, I mean, it was a whole hard rock metal community here in New York, and Brooklyn was definitely a big part of it at the time. So, and I was glad to have experienced it, as it.
What was your age difference between you and Peter Steele?
Oh man, I think Pete probably had like at least 5 years on me. And I know he was older, maybe 5 years, maybe a little less than that, But yeah, I mean, and then later on, I had met Pete again. That was in his Fallout days. I believe he was in a band called Fallout. It was back then. And then he had Carnivore, and then eventually Typo Negative, and then kind of came around full circle. I was playing with some guys that early on in those years, I actually played with Johnny Kelly in a Metallica cover band.
Oh, nice.
With his brother, who was a guitar player. So
cool.
it's like everybody knew everybody in Brooklyn.
And now Johnny's playing in a Quiet Riot cover band, kind of.
Yeah. Pretty wild, man. He was a great Metallica cover, player too. He was
good. Yeah, he's a pro.
Yeah,
we've had him on the show.
So it's been a lifelong thing. Everybody is, all the metalheads in this area. Everybody's pretty much sold their soul to playing the music. So that's what it was.
Mm-hmm.
What was the first band, and how did that come to be?
Well, my first band that I
Yeah.
played. Yeah. Oh, just like friends. I would get together with some buddies that also played instruments. We would jam and form a band or whatever. That never played out. If you have rehearsal.
Okay.
I never played one show, rehearsed for like a year and a half. And,
Let's move past
young kids, when you're
Let's
young,
move past that, Rob. Let's move past that era. Let's go to when you actually had a band and you rehearsed, and then you actually played live shows at a venue.
Yeah. But the most awesome thing to me, and it's funny because I was just doing an interview. It's going to be in a publication, so I was just responding to a question. But the question he had asked in the interview was basically what you had asked, and I was talking about first bands. But really, the most fun I ever had when I was a kid, 17, 16, 17, learning, was just sitting in my room for hours, just learning songs, learning like Maiden tunes, or Judas Priest, Metallica even, so it was, those were the best times. It was like not even playing with a band. It was just, learning the songs, picking up the needles, playing it back, listening, just trying to figure it out. Hoping that you're in tune, the proper way, that whatever that tuning was. But those were the great times. And to think now I have some people that, kids that write me emails and they say that they're doing that to my material. It's just like, that's like, I feel in the world. You feel like, wow, came full circle, it's like I'm honored.
Yeah, well, like you said, see, with metal in New York, I always tell people, it really isn't. It wasn't, at least when I was growing up, it wasn't a huge metal thing because everything came through the hardcore scene in New York.
Yeah,
so Brooklyn was kind of like the only kind of area. If you wanted metal, you had to go upstate or you had to go to Jersey, even Long Island. But most of the other parts, like Manhattan,
the years when I was coming up, there was a metal scene, and it kind of like. There was a metal scene, and then it slowly became a more hardcore scene. You had like the late 70s and early 80s, which was more of a punk rock scene because you had clubs like in Manhattan, like CBGB and places like that, where you had more of a upcoming like punk scene, which kind of evolved into this hardcore scene. And then there was, which was separate from the metal scene.
Exactly.
Because a lot of which eventually a lot of the hardcore folks started becoming like less punk, more hardcore, and then the movement like skinheads, And then the skinheads always had an issue with the metalheads for some reason. I guess, they had to have a problem with something. So,
True.
So there was a period of time where it was like they would jump. If you were a metalhead, you got jumped by skinheads, or the metalheads would chase a couple of skinheads from outside Lemoore to the trades. It's just stupid shit. And sometimes there were fights and stuff like that, but it was ridiculous. But then it was like metal, and then for a little point there, it became more of a hardcore thing. Then it was like a melding of metal and hardcore, where you had bands like like a Biohazard, New York bands and stuff like that, which kind of came up in that, and it just all eventually melded together and just became just a big metal scene ultimately, with hard, then you had like the hard, New York City hardcore and stuff like that. And it all stemmed out a little bit, came together, but everybody, if you went to rock, you went to rock, basically what it came down to.
Yeah, exactly, man. Yeah. Well, let's talk about your first band there that really, took off. We're talking about Dust to Dust. Your self-titled release, I think it was about early 2000s, right? And you guys were on Sanctuary, which was that's for a newer band that hadn't had any any records out, to get on a label like that was pretty interesting. How did you wind up getting a deal with such a prestigious label at such a young part of your career there?
Well, as you know, Sanctuary was really just initially a management Iron Maiden company, and with Sanctuary Records, hence Sanctuary. But they started a label, and at the time, Dust to Dust pretty much originally came about as just like a kind of like a project I was working on. I was just recording songs, and then I was playing demos for friends of mine who had, and one of the friends of mine that I would play demos for all the time was Mike, my drummer that I'm in the band with now. But at the time he was in a band called Boiler Room.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Which was they were signed to Roadrunner Records. And they were coming up. You know, there was a buzz going on. They were pretty much coming up in the scene, and they were being managed by a manager named Larry Mazer, who managed like Cinderella, managed a lot of big acts. And he was managing them, and I would turn Mike and my other friends onto, you know, stuff. We would get together to go out to a club, and I'd come down with like a CD, or at the time it was cassettes, and I'd be like, you know, check out this new song that I just recorded, you know, an idea, and we'd play ideas for each other, you know, even though we weren't in bands together. We were just friends, good friends, you know? Yeah. And you know, they would be like, oh, that's awesome, you know, who's singing on that? I'd be like, oh, that was me. And they were like, holy shit, we know you can sing, Rob. You know, it was like, you know, shit like that. So then I built up like about 4 or 5 songs, and Mike, or his at the time Jamie, his brother, he was in the band with, had played it for Larry Mazer, and Larry really liked it, what I had been doing, and I didn't have a band together at the time. So after he played it for Larry asked me about the band, and he said, well, can you get a band together? I said, yeah, I know guys, because all my friends were musicians, you know. I knew guitar players or the bass players that I was good friends with. And I mean, we would literally always hang out together. There was like a drummer, and, you know, if you needed a musician to play, you know, just put them together. And there were some people were in other bands that were doing stuff like Roadrunner, Boiler Room. But then I was able to get some guys together, good friends of mine, and get the music happening. And Larry had shopped it around. And he was also at the time managing Megadeth. And Megadeth had signed with Sanctuary. So he got Sanctuary, when he got Megadeth, the deal with Sanctuary, I think he, you know, he kind of worked out a little side deal, like a couple of crumbs came falling off the table, and so he was able to throw those crumbs to me. So with Dust to Dust, so we had gotten a deal with Sanctuary, and it was very exciting at first, but it was my first like record deal. And so it was very exciting times, you know. So, but then I learned the hard lessons about the realities of the music industry at the same time with releasing that music. And, you know, I mean, it was fun while it lasted. It was a good experience, but that's how that came about, working with Sanctuary. And then, you know, eventually I think they ended up shelving the album anyway, the first album I had done with them. I had actually toured, I'd done a tour with Typo Negative. That's how I reconnected with those, with guys. In the neighborhood, and with Dust to Dust, and but then I wrapped it up with Sanctuary after that. The second album that I released with Dust to Dust was another album I had self-produced and engineered, and I released it on my own at the time. So I had a bad taste in my mouth for, you know, the record industry and how it was working. You know, basically a very high interest loan. If you go to a bank with the highest interest loan you could imagine, that's what it is. So, you know, all the glitz and all the, you know, kind of all this, you know, went away. But I'm kind of glad that it did in that respect, you know, because I learned kind of early on, you know, what it was all about, you know, and how it worked, you know, for the better and for the worse, you know. I mean, there's definitely a lot of positives to for a label getting behind you and making it happen. Yeah. But, you know, I have also a lot of friends that I know that did have record deals and got wrapped up and were in bands that were touring for a long time and going out and everything. And, you know, and then at the end, it was like, you know, it's tough. You got to make a living, you know, so, you know, it's tough. The realities bite you in the ass is what I'm pretty much getting to.
Did you ever get the album off the shelf?
What's that?
One? The first album you said it was shelved. So did it ever get released?
Yeah, no, it was released. It wasn't, but they kind of like shelved it after, you know, a small period of time. They didn't. The label didn't get behind the band for any kind of touring or anything like that. It was like I put it all on my own. So it was like, you know, even getting to go out on a tour with Typo Negative was something that I had sat down with Pete and worked out. It wasn't even through a booking agent or anything like that. Yeah. That's how cool he was. He was such a down-to-earth, nice guy that, you know, I ran into him and I was just like, you know, I was telling him about my band, and at the time Dust to Dust, And he was like, listen, why don't we go out to dinner and talk? He invited me to go out to dinner.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, all right, you know, no problem. So I got together with my wife, but then my girlfriend, Elizabeth, and we went out. I went out with him, and he was dating some girl at the time. I don't remember who she was, but we both got together in Sheepshead Bay in Brooklyn in a nice restaurant. And we talked about going, you know, my band going out on tour, doing a Halloween tour.
Oh, nice.
Halloween tour at the time. And I was like, Pete, whatever, you know, listen, I'll give you money. You know, I was like, I came there ready to like buy on, to do whatever I had to do to try to make this happen. He was like, I don't want your money. I was like, whoa. He was like, I'm going to take you out because I like you. You know, I was like, never heard that from anybody. You know, you never hear that. I mean, this is, you know, he didn't have to do that, you know. So that just showed me what kind of, person he was. He was just an awesome guy, man. He really was. And he was like, you know, he was like, not only that, he's like, we're gonna pay you. I'm gonna give you $200 a show. I was like, he goes, because I know how it is to be out there and to be struggling, you know. And I was like,
that's awesome.
Like, you know what, man, you know, I was like, thank you. I didn't know what to say, you know. I was just like,
yeah.
But you know, so I figured I just wrote it in Pete Steele
story. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, amazing. Tell us about the tour. Your first tour out on the road. What do you remember anything about it?
I remember some of it. There's actually some footage that's floating around out on the YouTube of some show.
Nice.
I think at Toads that I had done with Dust to Dust opening for Typo, and right in the middle of the set, all the power went out.
Oh, geez, great.
And it was I mean, no, it was great because I had never, you know. I mean, I played like little rinky-dink shows, you know. I mean, in the early years, I had other bands that I played some big shows at Lemoore and stuff like that. I actually, an early band that I was in before Dust to Dust was being managed by Loud and Proud Management. I was in a band called Man Unkind that I had formed. And we were managed by Loud and Proud Management, who managed Tight Keto, White Lion, Overkill. And they also owned Lemoore. Mike and George Parente. I don't know if you know you guys are familiar with Mike and George. I mean, they were the owners of Lemoore.
They're owners of Lemoore, yeah.
And but they're also Loud and Proud Management, which had some huge acts, you know. So we, you know, but that's a whole different story. But I forgot where I was with that. But yeah, so I mean, I'd been with Loud and Proud Management and Lemoore. Playing Lemoore's a lot. So I did some big shows at Lemoore's because they were pushing the band then. But when we went out with Type O, the shows were like, you know, they were great. I mean,
how big were they?
They were big at the time, you know. I mean, every show was like sold out. Packed, you know.
Kind of
I mean, it wasn't like stadiums, but you know, it was like nice clubs, you know, packed clubs. And you know, they sounded great every night. I mean, Pete was just like, he was awesome. And the antics, man, he would do some things that were just he was a friggin' comedian. He really was.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he's so sharp and witty.
A dry humor, self-deprecating humor. Yeah.
I just remember some of the things he did. I mean, he enacted this whole thing with one quick story about Pete, not to get back to that, but when we were out with him, was he came out of the bus and he played it off like he had a heart attack. And he collapsed on the floor. And they had all these fans around him. They started like crying and freaking out. Then he's like jumped up and he would just do these things that were just like nuts, crazy shit, man. Funny, you know.
That's awesome. And then Kenny, you know, I know he did a lot of leads for you on the second record, right? The second Dust to Dust records. You have
a couple of leads. Well, at the time, a real quick thing, you know, also a Typo connection was at the time when I was doing working on a bit of a project with Johnny and Kenny. Kenny was looking to do like a side band type of thing, and outside of Typo Negative. So I was kind of working with those guys for a little bit. And when I had released my second Dust to Dust album, I was jamming with those guys, and I asked Kenny if he would lay down a lead or two because I was releasing the album Sick, which was Dust to Dust. So I figured, you know, why not? And I was like, Kenny, you know, lay down a lead or two, you know, because I always consider myself to be, you know, I don't lay down leads, I lay down followers, you know, that's what I say. So like, not like a shredder or anything like that. But, you know, so I asked him if he would lay down some leads, and he did. And ironically, that group that we had put together that I played with Johnny and with Kenny, I came up with the name Blackwater Rising for that situation originally.
Oh wow!
And then when that kind of fell apart, I just took the name with me and got the band. You know, I had actually a couple of the songs that I had originally written that are on the first Blackwater Rising album was songs that I was jamming with those guys in that Blackwater Rising thing. But lasted a very
Which one?
What's that?
Which ones?
Brother Go On and Rise.
Okay.
I would remember was you know, but those are songs that I had written. You know, I'd come down and played it for them. You know, that's what, you know, we were just jamming and working out, you know, what this project was going to end up sounding. But ultimately we had decided, you know, that, you know, he wanted to do his own thing, you know, and I wanted to sing too. So it was like, originally we wanted to do where it would almost be like a double vocal type of thing, which I thought would be unique and cool to have, like almost like a Kiss where you have different singers in the band, you know. But it just didn't come together. But those guys are kicking ass. Everything they do kicks ass. That new band they got sounds great. So you know, I wish them a lot of luck as well. But yeah, so you know, it's all the Brooklyn people, you know, everybody like got together at some point, you know.
Did you guys ever mix with like the Jersey Shore or like the Monster Magnet kind of bands also, or was that a whole different?
Not really. I mean, you know, I mean, we knew guys, you know, you would, you know, once you ventured out of like New York, you know, but it was more of like coming out of like, it wasn't so much coming out in New York because I didn't hang as much in like the New York City scene as I did in the Brooklyn scene. I was growing up in Brooklyn. I lived in Coney Island. So those were mainly, that was like my clique of people. And then eventually it got to the point where if you were going out to Jersey, you had to go through Staten Island all the time. So eventually you started going to clubs in Staten Island. So then you started meeting everybody in Staten Island. So I started meeting other musicians in Staten Island as well over the years before I actually made it out to Jersey. Then you had, you know, bands out in Jersey was a whole different thing, you know, but I played like the Birch Hill, you know, well, that, you remember Birch Hill? That was an awesome.
Oh yeah.
You know, obviously Stone Pony, and you know,
Stone Pony,
and we played like the Brooklyn Bar was out here, and you know that closed down after COVID, I think, and but Jersey was a whole nother animal. But at the time, and I mean at the time when we were, you know, when you're coming up as a musician, it's like you weren't really focusing outside of where you were. It wasn't like having the internet and the way things are today. It was like back then you were handing out demos outside Lemoore, you know, cassettes or like flyers or, you know, things like that. Put them on poles, you know, that's getting, you know, the word out about your band, or, you know, come see us, and played the same clubs all the time. It was like you were concentrating on just trying to build up 20 or 30 people that were local friends to come see your band. You weren't worried about playing out in Jersey yet.
Totally.
Around. But so, yeah, so it took some time before I really started playing out in other states. But, you know, nowadays it's a different story. But,
did you, Rob, did you ever have any interaction with Monster Magnet?
No, we played a couple of shows with Blackwater Rising with Monster Magnet, but I didn't know those guys early on.
Right. Cool. Just checking.
Yeah. And what's kind of, I guess, tough really for you at that time with Dust to Dust, man, like you said, I mean, it was right at that time when the whole, you know, music industry was just going over, you know, turning over its head because of, you know, Napster and the file sharing and everything. So the business was just in disarray. So I guess it was kind of a tough timing thing for you too with that band, I would imagine too, right? That kind of, I guess, you know, didn't help things kind of take off as they probably could have, you know, with those two records.
Right.
I'm assuming, right?
Yeah, you know, listen, it's always, when you look back on things like that, or, you know, to why something happened or why something didn't, there's always so many factors involved that you could pick at for reasons for why something could be successful or why something may not be successful, you know? So, you know, so it just all boils down to just an experience in life and you know, something that I was happy to have experienced, and just something along the road to bring me to where I am now, doing what I'm doing now, you know? Better or for worse, you know?
Yeah,
but, you know, it's just the journey of life.
Yeah.
Right. Now, speaking of journey, at least for me, and I think a lot of people, we found out about Blackwater Rising from Sirius XM Octane radio. That was back when I actually was giving it a chance, and they were playing normal, good rock and heavy rock also. And I think it was Jesse Mangin who was maybe really championing you guys a lot. Yeah. Tell me, you know, how does this happen? What give us this scenario? How
Well,
it
that's
all
a perfect example. Well, at the time with Blackwater Rising, I had Brother Go On. I had recorded. I have a home recording studio. That's where I'm sitting right now. But I had recorded Brother Go On and Rise and a couple other songs. And I had the main tracks down for it. And then I met Mike. I got together with Mike. Boiler Room had broken up at that point. And I was looking to do something else. And I told Mike, I was like, yo, I'm not working with these guys anymore. And I know you're not working with me. I was like, yo, why don't we get together and make this happen? So I turned him on, and he loved the stuff I had been doing at the time, Mike. So when I played him the other songs, we had I think it was like Hate Machine and a couple other songs that were on the first album. He was like, I love it. Let's go in the studio. So we went in the studio and we laid down live drums. Because at the time I had like a drum machine, I had a Lasis. I don't remember if you remember that drum. I don't know if you guys are familiar with drum machines and whatnot, but I'm a real gearhead. I get into all that type of crap. But whatever. It was a drum machine. It sounded like shit. And so when Mike got in and played down the drums, it was like all of a sudden there was like this life music. Yeah. It was like, holy shit, it can sound like this, Yeah. And, not the stale sounding drum machine crap. And so we went to the studio, we laid it down, I remixed everything, and I had a little demo. So basically what I was talking about before about, a road, this is a perfect example. Jose had his gig on Octane, and he had known, I had met with him with Dust to Dust. Octane was first starting. And he had liked the stuff I did with Dust to Dust. And when I finished this demo with Blackwater Rising a few years later, I ran into him. I was at some club and I ran into him. I was like, hey, and we were talking. He was like, are you doing anything? I was like, yeah, I got this new band. I handed him at the time, CDs were first starting to come out. CDs were out, but you could burn them at home. So I had burned a couple of CDs. I gave him the CD, and he took it and he turned around. He gave me a call or whatever. He was like, listen, I love it. He's like, I'm going to turn my program director onto it, see what he thinks. Yeah. And all of a sudden, before I could even get word about the program director, they were already playing the song on Octane.
Wow.
I didn't know because I didn't have satellite radio. But people that I had known that did have it, they're like, yo, they're playing your song. I was like, get the fuck out of here. I was like, holy shit. And it started blowing up. It started taking it was like organic, People were calling in and they were requesting it. And they were, who is that? Who is that? And here I was with only 4 songs at the time. I just started this band. And so it started to take off. And there you go. It's like, if it wasn't for Dust to Dust, I would have never met Jose. And then I would have never gave Jose that CD. And then I've had that luck with him playing it on Octane and for getting this organic thing happening. And so I was like, we had to get a band together. We had to make this happen because it was starting. And I'd start getting calls from some very, very big industry people, and which I couldn't believe because I was like, pick up the phone and you got somebody like a Jason Flom on the other line. And it's like, holy shit, asking me about my band. Like, we heard this song, we believe there's going to be this big thing going on with this, like they called it Red Rock at the time, So I don't know. But then I was talking to these managers and this one and now all these big people. And it was, it was very nerve wracking, but it was like, wow. It was like, wow, this is really happening, And, but that kind of fizzled out after a little while. So, because, again, I had been down the road. So I was like, not as naive, I think a lot of times, these wrecking people, they want to deal with somebody that's a little more naive, I guess. I don't know, with the signing deals and whatnot. But that definitely helped with Jose getting it out there. And then, then got the band together, got Johnny in the band, another guitar player.
Johnny Fats.
And he brought Odie into the situation, and we met Odie, and Odie blew us away, and we were just like, and then we just started jamming, and it was, to me, of every band I've ever been in, honestly, it's like it just gelled. I finally realized what it meant when they say how a band, when you play with certain people, how it just gels. Nobody's an amazing musician in this band. None of us are like, shredders or any technically great musicians. But when we get together and we play, there's this connection between everybody, and that's also why we're together as long as we've been together, because it just works, you know. So, so then like they say, you know, the rest was history after that. So
yeah. Well, I mean, you say you're not an amazing musician, but one thing you are, man, is definitely an amazing songwriter. You know what I mean? And I mean, because I mean, you know, listen, tons of musicians can obviously write great songs, but when you do it consistently as well as you've done with all these albums, I mean, and what I love about it is really the different ways that you write songs. I mean, I'll just take, for example, like Dance with the Devil off the Piston Driven. Where you use that storytelling approach, which I think is really cool. It's something that like it was obviously done more in the 70s and even mostly, I guess, in the 80s. And you know, and the way you do it, it's not like it's a, you know, it's hard to do without coming off sounding kind of cheesy, like a Sammy Hagar's "Dick in the Dirt" or something like that.
I got plenty of cheesy shit,
you know.
Too.
Oh, I'm sure you do.
You know, you throw the cheese against the wall, and if some may stick and some may not. So.
Yeah, well, at least you're able to delineate which ones are cheesy, which one are. You know what I mean? But I think that's really, you know, something that's, you know, I mean, kind of a natural ability to have. Is that something that you've like worked on a lot over the years as a songwriter, or is it just kind of come to you naturally? Like, I'm just going to write about this and see how it comes out.
I mean, and real quick, Rob, your lyrics, and I have that down too. Your lyrics are smart, they're catchy. I mean, and you understand them, which is something. Is a hit or miss in the rock and roll world at times, and it harkens back old school for a lot of us. Really digs. I was listening to the new album today, and I'm like, God, Rob knows how to just And I know from talking with you personally a little bit, you know, about the world and all that. So there's a certain like, look around, open your eyes. So talk to us about like Matt asked, your songwriting, and then. Give us a little idea with lyrics. Do you come up with the lyrics first, or do you come up with the riffs and all that first?
Very rarely do I come up with a lyric first. It's usually, honestly, it always starts with a riff with me. I got to sit down, you know, and I sit down and I jam out. I kick on, like, I have literally, honestly, almost 40 fuzz pedals.
Wow.
I have a real sickness. I've fallen down this over the years, like fast, like 5 years, I've accumulated like fuzz pedals. And the thing I love about fuzz pedals is they all have a unique sound to them. No two fuzz pedals sound the same unless it's the same brand, or, you know, but no, fuzz is like, you know, I mean, distortion too. I mean, you could definitely go through different tones, but nothing changes up as much as fuzz. And it just sounds so heavy that, because it's also got that underlying bass tonality to it. When I'm playing riffs, that's why I love Orange. I always, when I got back into playing the whole, you know, became a guitar player over time, from a bass player, became a guitar player. I remember I really didn't know much about guitar amps. I just had known what guitar players that I know playing with Marshall, or playing like a Laney, or, you know, Mesa Boogie. So, you know, and I knew what I liked and what sounded cool to me and whatnot from the guitar players I played with. But I walked into a music store and I sat down and I saw an Orange amp, and I just loved the way it looked at first. I was like, this thing, it looks fucking crazy. You know, it looks like something out of the 70s. And I just dug that. And when I plugged in, I knew Sabbath had used Orange at one point too. And I also had a Laney. I was into Laney because I love Naomi. And I had this Laney amp, which is on my second Dust to Dust album, by the way. All the guitars were recorded with that head. But I ended up selling it to buy a guitar, and I regret that now. But I sat down, I plugged into this Orange in this music store, and I was like, holy shit. Like, the sound was just the sound of me strumming like bullshit chords, you know, just I was playing some stupid riff or whatever at the time. But the sound just sounded sonically to me. It just made me want to play. Like, I wanted to play. It just sounded, oh, and you're wearing an Orange shirt too. Look at that. And I was like, I just wanted to play guitar. I just wanted to play write riffs. So I bought it. It was Orange Rockaverb. It was a 50-watt combo at the time when they first came out. And it was like almost $2,000. I was like, I don't give a shit, man. I'm fucking buying this fucking thing. And I was paying it off and whatnot. And I brought it home. And that's when I started writing all the stuff for the first album, for the first Blackwater Rising album. Everything was written on that amp and recorded with that amp too on the first album. And so with me, it's always about the riff. Once I write a riff that grabs me, I start coming up with melodies. It'll just naturally start happening. Once the melodies start coming, then if I have something that becomes solid, then I start working on it. I'll come up with like a little phrase or a word will pop out or something, and it'll just, you know, something will work. Kind of like I always remember Van Halen, early Van Halen, when they would do interviews with David Lee Roth and Eddie Van Halen. They would ask him about some of their lyrics, you know, because some of their lyrics just didn't make any sense. And Dave said, and I'll never forget it, he said, he was like, I come up with anything. He goes, if it just works, it works, you know. And Eddie Van Halen was like, if it sounds good, it is good. And I was just like, you know what? That's fucking true. You know, it's like, who cares half the time, you know? So that's always been like my mentality. And I'll sit there and I'll come up with something and just whatever comes out. And then if it's a word or a phrase, that'll set the direction of where the song's going to go, what it's going to be about. And so it kind of builds itself. The song builds itself. So it starts out as a riff. It goes from a riff, and then from a riff, I'll get a melody. Then a melody will turn into a lyric, and then a lyric turns into the lyrics of the song. And that's pretty much how it manifests, you know. So,
Absolutely.
You know, a song that sticks out lyrically is Hail Mary. Hail Mary, which is, you know, off the new album.
right.
You want to expand a little on Hail Mary? Like, what's the view there? What's happening? The kind of the picture you're painting within that song.
Well, you know, a lot of stuff I write, you know, is like, you know, watching the news and just seeing what's going on in this world, in this day and age, you know.
Yeah.
And just watching how divided people are, you know, that's how that song came about. I just feel like, you know, it's like, you know, no matter where you fall politically, it's just like, it just seems to me, it's like cooler heads always prevail. And it just seems like people just look for any reason to be divided nowadays and just look for anything to piss them off and just problems.
Yeah.
And it goes for everybody. It's not just one specific
absolutely.
group.
Totally.
It's like you got everybody across, you know, instead of people just trying to work things out, it's like we're always at each other's throats. You go on Facebook, or I call it hate book, because it's like, you know, you go on half of these social media sites and it's just people just hating on each other. It's horrible. So
Yeah.
I was basically writing that song from that perspective of just like how fucked up people are, and how we're screwed up, and how if we continue on this path, quite honestly, I can't see how human beings can, you know, how we can coexist. You know,
I know.
And, you know, just all the things that are going on in the world, and just, you know, so that's basically what that song's about. Just like, I'm just at the point. So really, honestly, for me, it's like, I just got to the point at once, you know, I was just like, I didn't want to, I was like, I had enough of this crap, you know. It's like, Jesus Christ. It's like, I even wrote on my Facebook profile, it's like, don't friend me if you're looking, you know, if you're just looking for political, complain about politics, you know. It's like, I'm tired of politics.
Yeah,
I'm tired of all of this shit. So it's like, please don't friend me if that's what you're, you know. It's like, if you're into metal, if you're into rock and roll, if you're into, you know, that type of thing, you know, cool, you know, check out my band, and, you know, maybe we could be friends. But otherwise, it's like, I don't want to deal with any of that shit. So when I wrote that song, that's pretty much how I was, you know, I was in that mindset. And that's why even the original lyric at the beginning, that, you know, how I'm saying, I just basically don't give a shit, you know, I'm done with it. And, you know, so
Yeah. One of the lyrics, you say monkey see, monkey do. And it was like, I already knew what kind of the context was happening. And that was just kind of, it rings so true when people think about what they're fed.
Yeah.
And then the automatic kind of switch in the head to activate whatever problem they're going to have next that involves this one thing. It's crazy.
Yeah. And then Seeking a Shill, same thing, right? I mean, that's pretty much.
Well, I wrote about the media.
That's one of the media.
I wrote about the, you know, news outlets, and you know, because that just, like, you know, you watch, I mean, it's just such bullshit, man. You know, it comes out both sides, but it's just like, you know, and I honestly, I'm sure, like many people like myself, I mean, I had seen this coming early on when the internet really started kicking in. You know, we're of a time when we've seen before the internet, and now we're in it. We're in it. So it's like, you know, I knew when I saw social media starting to take off, when you had stuff like MySpace and they were putting up news like you know, and even America Online back then.
Yeah.
I remember when I first learned about the 9/11. You know, I lived in Brooklyn. I could see from my window the plumes of smoke coming over the water, and I was like, "What the hell is that?" And I had just gotten up, and I went to my computer, and I just went on the computer just like any other day. I wasn't looking for anything, but America Online came up, and they would always have the news, and it had a picture of the twin towers and with the smoke coming out of it. And I thought they were filming like a movie or something. I was like, "Wow, what's this?" And I'm reading it, and I see out the window, I see plumes of smoke, and I'm like, "Holy shit, something happened." So, but it was around that time that I had said to myself, I was like, "That's it for newspapers." It's like the internet is going to take over, and there's going to be no more newspapers or even magazines. All of that's going to go, you know, right in the trash bin. This is what the future is. And I knew, and I said, but this is also dangerous. Like I was thinking to myself, because they can do everything they can to survive. It's just the nature of the beast.
Yeah.
And ultimately, that's what you see now. I mean, it's all about clicks. It's all about getting attention, and just the news across the board. It's like it's so divided, so divisive, and it's just it's really, and I call it politicorp, because that's what it is. It's like politics. It's like corporate politics, and I use that lyric. I don't think it's a real word. Sometimes I come up with fake words and I put them in my songs. I have a couple of songs like that, but that's one of them where I call it politicorp, and how it's all about basically, you know, you how they scandalize things to monetize things. It's like all about making money and surviving, you know, and it's a bad thing, because it's gotten to the point now where, you know, something like, you know, having the news media was, you know, such an important thing for our country, but now it's gotten to the point where it's just fighting to survive, and because of that, it's taken on this new, evolved into this new, you know, what it is now.
All the ratings.
Yeah.
It's right. It's all for ratings.
All about the ratings,
It's been like that.
Advertising dollars.
It's just so much worse now. It's like everything is like magnified and like friggin' shot up with with friggin' steroids. You know, like
For sure.
So that comes in, you know, you saw it coming years ago, and just that's what that song is basically talking about. It's just like how it's all, you know, they feed you bullshit and what they want you to believe, and it's all about pumping out fear to get for monetizing and for getting people to follow and for lining pockets. Really, ultimately, that's really what it's all about.
Advertising dollars.
Right.
You know, it all comes back to that, which is the revenue that drives it. Now, we go way back in time, Rob. The first time I saw you, Blackwater Rising was on tour.
Right.
Maybe, I don't know how many tours you guys did. And you were on tour with Rex Brown from Pantera's newest band at the time, along with Dewey Bragg.
Right. We had gone out with Kill Devil Hill.
Kill Devil Hill.
Yeah. That was great. With Vinny and I mean,
that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Vinny Appice was in that band too.
Yeah, you heard it, I guess. Right. It was pretty surreal sharing a bus with those guys, man. And being in that bus, because that was the Pantera bus. So it was like getting to spend time in that actual bus was like being in a museum every day. And having Rex Brown sleeping in the bunk under me.
Wow.
Farting up a storm. And then right across from me, I got Vinny Appice. The next bunk. You know, it was definitely a trip. You know, it was definitely, going out to breakfast in the morning, you know, Vinny, going for walks. I would go for walks, me and Vinny would walk. And I had a friend, a good friend of mine, who's a huge fan of his. And I was like, I got to call this guy up and just put you on the phone with him. So we would just go for, he called him up. He was like, yeah, this is Vinny. He was like, get the fuck out of here. I was like, yeah, this is Vinny. You know, I'm here with your buddy Rob. You know, I was like,
nice.
But yeah, they were a great band, man. They are a great band. They're still together. They're still kicking ass. But
there's a version of them, with those two still in it. Yeah, I mean, Vinny. I mean, you're talking like, you know, Black Sabbath / Dio action.
We jammed, and we jammed too. We jammed on a song or two.
Nice.
We played this one show with them where the venue had a rehearsal room in the venue. So the band could get there, you can go into this room and had amps and, it was cool. You could just jam. It was like going into a paid rehearsal space. So we went in there with Vinny and we were just jamming out songs. It was fucking great. He was playing our songs, it was a trip.
That's wild.
That's awesome.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
That was a pretty decently long tour, right?
Yeah, we did like maybe 15, 20 dates with them. I don't remember.
Yeah, I mean, you went across country.
But
you were in Vegas.
We went to California. We went up to all the way up to I believe we went to we played Seattle. We came down through California, New Mexico. We went through Texas. So we did like the whole East Coast type of thing.
Yeah.
I mean,
West
Coast type of thing.
Yeah.
We didn't play much on the East Coast with them, but it was West Coast. So.
Yeah. And you guys just recently, I know, played last month it was. Yeah, I know your last show you played with Prong there out in Long Island. I heard my buddies went to that and he was like, that was like kind of a legendary show it was like the longest set I think Tommy Victor's ever played.
Yeah.
How did that show go? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It was super long. It was super long. It was cool. It was fun. It was the club was a good venue. Sounded good in there. It was a good time. We hadn't played in a long time.
Mm-hmm. So
it was good to come out and play again. I feel like I'm in a time warp. I couldn't even believe that it took even this long to get this album out. It was like I wrote like one song a year.
I would hear them. You would send me them like every 7 months to a year. I'm like, oh, there's another song. Or Mike would send them. I'm like, damn, when's that album gonna come out? Oh, soon.
I got a little side, just life. It's just life.
Yeah.
Well, the whole thing with COVID happened, and that screwed everything up for a couple of years. Then after COVID, there was no place to play. A lot of clubs had closed. A lot of clubs near me closed. It was like no scene. There was nothing going on. So that is not very inspirational. You got the internet, which pretty much sucked at the time too. I mean, things were just, and I wanted to get new music out there, but I was just like, I wasn't very inspired, and I was in a bit of a lull. I actually was experiencing some writer's block. Like I just wasn't inspired to want to play, And I got to be inspired, I got that. Hence owning 30 freaking fuzz pedals, because every fuzz pedal was giving me a different tone, and I was like, all right, cool. Now I got something to play with, inspire a riff, and it did.
Right.
It did help, I don't know if I needed 30 pedals to do that, but I started to build up a collection, but but yeah, I mean, I'd taken some time away from it. And then what also had happened was I wanted to go about things differently, because the whole music business, the whole industry was changing. And right around COVID was like the nail, like if I was to map the progression of how the industry was really changing, I feel that around COVID, especially for rock, the industry finally, I think, bottomed out. I think that it finally reached a point to where the new way things are going to be done is coming out, is evolving. And before, it was like put out a single, push the single, make a video if you can make a video, get the video out there, push the video, publicist, get the publicist pushing it out, get the word out 3 months in advance, release the album. Now, you don't need to do that anymore. Things have changed. It used to be like that because you were putting out a physical CD. You had to manufacture and physically make a CD, or back in the day, a 45. You would put these things out there to market music. Nowadays, you don't need to put out an album anymore. You can put out one song at a time, because it doesn't cost you anything to do it. You could put one song out, one video out, one song out, one video out, or just a video. Because nowadays, the audio of the video is the streaming music. You go on like YouTube Music, when half of the songs you're listening to, there's a video that's accompanying it. You're listening to the audio from the video is actually what you're listening to. So things have changed, So I was just like of the mindset. I was like, you know what? I'd written a couple songs at the time. I was like, we don't have to sit back and just wait to release an album, I can put out a song at a time. Keep the interest up, instead of waiting 4 years maybe to finish an album, or even 2 years or whatever, get an album out. In the meantime, you could put out a single every like 2 or 3 months. Keep the interest going. Keep people interested in what you're doing. This is what you couldn't do that back then. Now you can do that. And a lot of other artists were doing that as well, putting out singles. So that's what we started doing. And but then I figured, you know, I was getting a lot of people saying, well, when are you going to put out an album? When are you going to put out an album? And I would have just kept going with putting out singles before we even wanted to put out an album. Because I was like, what am I putting out an album for? It's like, what's the difference? If me putting out single every 2 months or every 3 months or even every 4 or 5 months, or just releasing it all in one shot.
Mm-hmm. Now, have you found does that work? Has the numbers been better or at least similar than when you would put out?
Yeah, I think actually the numbers have been better, and I'll tell you why too. That I feel like this formula will work better. What we're doing works better for bands nowadays, at least bands at my level, as opposed to bands back in the day. Because first of all, to release a single or a video one shot at a time, every 6 months or whatnot, doesn't require the same amount of money that it's going to take for you to put out a whole album and market it. And you're also shooting your load in one shot. And you don't know how long the interest is going to be there for that. And if you don't garner a buzz right off the bat, it's like it's like you're taking a gamble by releasing a single. You don't know for sure if this is a song that's going to, it may be a great song. You may have, gotten together with, your record label or with everybody else and decided, hey, this is the song. Doesn't mean it's going to be the song, Yeah. But this way, if you're putting out a single, one song every, say 6 months, you're getting interest on you again every 6 months. You're not sinking as much money into it to promote it as you would a full album. You're making it, you're building fans at the same time. You're building something up at the same time as you're moving along. You could put a video out there, which also helps with in this day and age where people complain about touring, how difficult it is to tour, how expensive it is to tour. A video helps to get your image out there, helps to get, the material out there. So it just seemed like it was working better for me, for a band like mine. And as we would put singles out there and they would be generating streams and building an audience and building up, I was making money that was coming back into the band, which I could then put back into the market, right? As opposed to coming right out the gate with a full album and you ain't got shit.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Are you looking
kind of like it really nowadays, if you really think about it, if you really want to think about it like this, it's almost like going back to the 70s as a rock band, where you building it up brick by brick, grassroots, but now it's digital. Now bands like mine were kind of underground again. It's not as big as the more commercial stuff, obviously, but we're building it up, fan after fan after fan after fan, just building it up. And at the same time, we're putting out a product that people are able to stream and listen to, which is generating revenue for the band, and which I'm able to reinvest and to keep the engine moving. So it was working. It works. So we figured after about like 5 songs, which is what we basically put out. We put out 4 songs, I believe, and then the 5th was the one that we put out right with the album, which was Slow Slide. And I think it works. I think it's just something that works. And now, because we put out those songs and the album came out, right out of the gate, that album had over 200,000 plays already.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
But those songs that have been out now for like 3 years, 4 years or whatnot, that I had it out there already, they were generating plays. So now this album is being looked at as well by Spotify as an album that has 250,000 plays.
Yeah.
Right.
So, which also helps it now. It's on playlists, which is also beneficial and important.
Sure.
So it's a win-win for this mindset of, and not to mention, as for record labels, all these record labels are history. You can't get we've been offered deals. I've been offered record deals. The deals suck. They're horrible. They're not worth it. I'm talking like $20,000, $30,000 deals. This is what record labels are offering now. And you're lucky if you get a $50,000 deal if you're a somewhat well-known band. So you're better off doing it on your own. You really are, because then you collect 100% of anything that comes back to you. You make the investment. You make 100% of everything that's going back. You don't owe some high interest bank.
But you know how it is, Rob, is they got the machine behind them.
They do and
So
they don't.
it's
You know?
you're able to like,
Right.
I mean, they're in each other's emails with the management companies, with the tour company. You know what I mean? It's you get a Rolodex of sorts, and that's an old school term. You get the Rolodex, which is the people that control everything in the music industry, which at least with the big three labels, they, dominate the top 40.
Well, yeah, if you're a huge label and you're going to sink a big amount of money into a project and you're going to make it happen, you're going to market it. Yeah.
And the
But
distribution.
You're going to end up like a King's X, I mean, something like that. I mean, here's a band that should be, these guys release an incredible catalog of incredible music.
Yeah.
Which is also another band that we toured with, which was awesome, an incredibly awesome tour. They're great guys, incredible music. I mean, I'm a huge King's X fan. It's evident in my music. I don't hide anything. But they got screwed over by these fucking labels. I mean, it's like when you think about it, it's like Jesus Christ, and thank God they go out and they can pack a club, and I'm sure they're making a living doing that, which is great.
Yeah.
And they deserve it, but they deserve so much more,
Yeah.
I think that honestly, the way things are going to go now is like I put my music through what's called TuneCore. I'm sure you.
Yeah. Sure. Of course.
It's digital distribution. It's basically what it is. They're a distributor. I think the future, those are the new record labels. You got the Distro Kid. You got CD Baby. You got there's a couple of different ones that are out there.
Yeah.
And then you got where I'm hanging, and with the TuneCore. And they've reached out to me recently. They reached out to me with what was like a record deal, a modern day record deal. But what a modern day record deal now is they know what songs, because it's clear as day in their data, which songs are successful.
Yeah. So
they look at a song like Brother Go On, like we have almost 10 million streams.
Yeah.
So they look at what songs it doesn't even have to be a human being. It could just be a friggin' algorithm that just says, hey, the Blackwater Rising, this song, blah, blah, has almost 10 million listens. Hey, Blackwater Rising, we're going to offer you X amount of dollars. You give us 100% of the rights to that song, and we're also going to put it on 10,000 million playlists. So we're generating money for ourselves, and we're going to give you 50%. That's the future. That's how simple it's going to be. And that's what the future is. And I was recently offered a deal from TuneCore like that, where they wanted to own 100% of my song, and they were going to take the song and they were going to market it out there on all of the streaming services, Amazon, YouTube, Spotify, Pandora, anyone you could think of. They would own 100% of the song, but they would give you 50% of the royalty.
I'm sorry.
And they would give you an advance. They offered an advance.
Right. Well,
but you would lose your rights to the song.
Well, that's the thing too, right? Yeah.
That's a little scary.
Yeah.
But what's kind of a unique thing I think is starting to turn the corner a little bit is music marketers getting songs on movies, shows, things like that. I've noticed a little bit more rock and roll. Some of the shows I'm watching lately, I watch like Countdown, which is on Prime, and they just played a Radio Moscow song last episode. I was like, what? And Queens of Stone Age 3 weeks for that. And you remember like Sons of Anarchy.
There's a bit of a resurgence going on too.
Yeah.
Well, I think
so.
Younger kids are getting more into it.
They are.
Yeah, well, the more we get songs like yours, which fit the background or like a video part of a scene, which we've all been born and raised, with it, and enjoyed it. It took us in. We were like, who the fuck is this band in this scene here? You even go back to singles, and there was constantly like scenes in the movie where they're like an Alice and Jane show. You know what I mean?
Right.
And this is right at just a little bit after Alice and Jane's got known. So there's these music marketers that are out there, and they're the ones that work with a label, and then with people in Hollywood or wherever the film studio.
You can hire, I've done this in the past. I've gone out and hired marketing companies.
Yeah.
So
yeah, you can do that,
label. I'm the label. So now I'm hiring a marketing company to just market the music for me. Concrete Marketing here in New York. I had worked with them with Dust to Dust. I had hired them on my second album when I didn't have a deal. I had worked with a couple of, I mean, even with this band, we had worked with Pavement at one point, and that was basically like a marketing deal is what it was.
Yeah.
So I mean, they didn't own the full rights to any of the music. As a matter of fact, we own all the rights back to it. I'm going to put Electrified back out. Now that they're not dealing with it anymore. So, but so I mean, it's definitely changed. The record industry.
There's opportunity out there, and not just isolating yourself and just lone wolfing it, because the partnership part is key to how the upper tiers have always been successful. It's only got to take a little part of that, and remember, it's still about who you align yourself with, which is a win for everyone.
Sure.
Yeah.
Along the
That's
way.
what they do. Well, that's what I mean with the TuneCore. That's what they're offering now. That's what they're doing.
Yeah, but the sticky part, like you said, is owning the right to the song.
Right.
Because
they first came to me and they offered like a 50-50 split. Where it was going to be 50-50. Then it became like this other thing. They sent it out as a beta. They were doing a beta test.
Yeah.
And then, but I wasn't interested in doing that at the time, And but they were saying that they would get 50% of any stream that they had generated, as opposed to if you had an organic stream, they weren't going to take it. Now, how you would know whether or not it was organic or not, they're the ones that are controlling that. But I mean, you got it. But so far, I kind of
feel like
pixels. Kind of been on the up and up.
Sure. What about with physical media copies now, like vinyl? Like I know that with the Edge, I know there's nothing out there. Yeah, is that something that you can do still? But if TuneCore owns all of it, right? I mean, are you able to?
No. TuneCore is just
digital.
They own no rights to anything.
Okay.
So I just use them for distribution to distribute to all streaming services and
what about vinyl
sales, right? Yeah. But we made. Originally, I wasn't even going to make CDs, but then we started getting, when we were announcing that the album was, we were getting ready to release this thing, we were getting people that were writing me emails, and we were getting comments online that people wanted the CD. And we do have a bit of an older demographic, people like CDs, which is cool, So we had decided to go and make up a bunch of CDs, not too many, I mean, downstairs I still got like friggin' like a wall of like piston-driven CDs. When that album came out, that's when the streaming started taking off. So it was like, I got stuck with like a ton of CDs. And I do these little blowout sales here and there. Sometimes I get rid of some of them. But as for the new album, we ran off like a couple of hundred, and we sold almost all of them already. So which is great. I was surprised. I couldn't believe how many people were still listening to CDs. But when you're looking at the whole world, I've sold a lot of overseas, I mean, everywhere. I mean, anywhere you can imagine, like, Brazil, Canada, Europe, anywhere, Japan.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I mean, Rob, vinyl's got it. I mean, I won't say it's a pretty big.
With the whole vinyl thing, and we do have one vinyl. We have actually Piston Driven that is on vinyl. Because a record company at the time had made it. We were working with, we had signed a overseas deal with a label, Metalville.
Metalville, okay.
Yeah.
And they released Piston Driven, I believe it was. They released that in Europe and Australia. So they had made up vinyl. So, they made the investment in the vinyl. But we looked into it. It's expensive. I mean, even to make albums they're like $15 a piece or something. It's like,
oh really?
Yeah.
I think you can get.
You don't make a.
You guys shop around, but probably a little less, but not much.
And also, to me, quite honestly, coming from like an engineering audio type of perspective on the whole thing, it's like you're recording the album digitally. I'm going to.
I know what you're saying.
But now you're going to release it on vinyl. It's not really analog. It's like not an analog recording, It's like
good point.
I mean, I guess the vinyl it kind of gives it a warmth sonically, just because of the medium that it's on. But it's a digitally recorded album, so it's like, and not that that's good or bad. It's just,
but people love it.
Amazing.
Yeah,
just,
But people love it. They love still opening it up. I mean, it's big culture, and obviously it's a
But you
Gen
can do
X,
that with
Gen Y,
CD
and
too.
Boomer.
You can do that with a CD too. But we're gonna see,
Yeah.
because this is early on. You know, listen, we do things as we go ahead with this band. It's like,
Yeah.
so it's like if we see that there's enough of you know, a demand for it, then we'll go and we'll do it. You know, but right now it's like I just feel like I'm sinking everything that this band has that we're generating into just marketing, pushing it out, getting the word out about this band. You know, building up followers on a Facebook. You know, selling CDs. You know, Spotify, just building up streams, getting more and more people into the band. That's where I'm focusing our energy on right now. As for the vinyl and collectibles and T-shirts and stuff like that, we're working on shirts now and all that. But you know, as for vinyl, it's like that's something that we're going to probably address down the road. You know, you can always release it. You know, it's like
true.
You know, we're into it. They're into it. I mean, if you're willing to lay down $25 for, you know, the Edge, you know, I think you're going to be willing to lay down $25 6 months from now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like somebody that's going to lay down $25 for something, they really want that. So it's like if it comes out, you know, a year from now, whatever, they might get it then. You know, it's like
yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
All about the timing a little bit, but I hear what you're saying.
Yeah. I mean, with you know, times it's, you know, it's tight. You know, like we don't have a record label. We're doing this on our own. So it's like,
man, you guys
gotta watch where we think our money, and it's basically everything that comes in is going back out, coming in, going back out. It's like
you guys are doing really good. I mean, and hey, folks, if you haven't seen Blackwater Rising, which they're not, you know, out and about as much, I've had the good fortune of having them over to Vegas at least 3 or 4 times, right, Rob?
Always a good time. Awesome.
Yeah. Good old Counts Vamped back in the day.
I was so depressed when I heard that Vamps was closing. Fuck, man.
They're all closing, man. St. Vitus Greg closed in Brooklyn last year, and
we really miss Vamped. I mean, I mean, I stayed in last Friday night. I'm like, nah, fuck it. I'm not going out. I'm not gonna go spend extra
what's
amount
the
of
new
money
like place to play like in Vegas?
What's that?
What's like the new? Is there any place to play in Vegas?
Yeah, there is, but it's there's nothing even close to Counts Vamped and like the culture and how they treated people. The quality of the system. I got 2 venues that I'm using for this upcoming Planet Desert Rock: the Usual Place and Swan Dive, and they're very good. But they play a lot of variety of stuff. I mean, a lot. So it's not that easy to get in there. One of them got a new, got a talent buyer that.
But you could always, but you're also in a fortunate position where you are, because you could always just go hardcore like they did in the old days and just get a bunch of generators and go right out into the desert.
No,
go anywhere you want.
50 fucking 6 years old, Rob. I'm not doing that shit.
Well, you can, right?
No one around here wants to do that.
That's
There's 50-years-olds want to do a desert generator. You know, and that's all there is.
Was it Stone and Dusted, right? Wasn't that a generator show, right?
That was an internet show in Joshua Tree, you know, in a very magical thing. Not some fucking dusty road here in Vegas with buried bodies, probably, or something.
Coyotes.
Literally.
That make it more.
Come up. Yeah. But you guys killed it every time. You even played Planet Desert Rock 2 Bunkhouse that night, which was a hell of a night. That was a while. I don't even remember who all played that night. Do you remember any of the bands?
Was that when we played with Sasquatch and who else did we play with?
I wonder if Garcia was that night.
Garcia,
or was it Nebula? Or...
Every one of those shows that we played were always great. They're always fun. All the bands always kicked ass. It was that's a really playing those shows too, which is also kind of sent me in the whole fuzz direction with using fuzz pedals and shit like that too, because I just love the way everything sounded. It was just like so huge. I was just like, after, you know, so I melded it with my distortion sounds and I just get these huge sounds now. So
good.
It was inspiring. It was definitely playing those shows was inspiring.
There's really good heavy rock. And I knew that you guys would always be, you're just part of the family. You know, you might be cleaner and more well thought out and written than many bands, but in the end, like you and Sasquatch, what a great little match that is. You know, I mean, just 2 fucking jamming bands. And hell, we even had you and Arthur C from Unita even had maybe it was Housebroken Promises at the time, a late night pizza adventure, I think, one night down at Evil Pie.
Yes.
I don't know if you remember that. Yeah. That was a very late night, we'll say.
Yeah.
But yeah, good time.
Always a good time, man. Always a good time.
Yeah. What's any, you guys looking to do any shows? You know, I mean,
Well, right now,
okay,
that's part of what we're focusing on.
Okay.
We're starting to talk to some booking agencies. We're reaching out to some people just to see what's out there. We're fully aware of the realities of going out and playing and doing any kind of touring. Whereas, honestly, it's like a band in ours where we're at, and I mean, everything's a buy-on.
Yeah,
that's just the reality of what it is. Because even the headlining bands, they got to survive. You know, it's like in a lot of these tours, they're not like packing it in. You know, it's just, I don't care who you are. It's like, unless you're like Metallica, it's like, you know, it's tough out there, man. It's like people just don't leave their house anymore. It's like
they don't. I know.
And I get it because I can't talk. You know, there's shows that go on that I don't go to because, quite honestly, my ass is up at 5 o'clock in the morning to go to work. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, this is just realities of what it is.
It is.
And I get it. You know, so going out, it's like we're looking for like a good buy-on opportunity and what's going to make sense for us. So we're kind of like, you know, saving our pennies for that as well.
Sure.
And we'll work. So we figure after a good amount of time of just like marketing this, we're hoping that probably by the fall, if not the fall, then maybe like come spring, we could set something up to get out there and do some kind of touring. And, you know, in the meantime, like I said, with my ideas about how I'm looking at promotions nowadays, although we've just released The Edge, I'm already working on material for another album.
Oh, cool.
So we have songs in the can. I already have an album's worth of material basically that's ready to almost go. So I've started doing a lot of writing again, and I'm recording, and I'm getting into the studio again with the guys and just pumping out tracks, and hopefully start getting get some newer singles happening after we work this out for a little while. And hopefully, you know, what I'm finding is because we do have a pretty decent catalog already that's built up. I have my 4 albums with Blackwater Rising now. I have 2 albums with Dust to Dust that are also being streamed. You know, the more material you have, the more songs you have, the more you generate streaming wise. So it's just like on YouTube, you know, when you have more content, it just helps to build up the amount of revenue that you generate. So it's definitely over time, if we start putting out more singles again and start getting out there, that's going to also help to generate and to move it forward. Because as you know, I mean, with streaming, it takes like something like, I don't know, man, like almost about 200,000 streams to equate to like maybe like $400.
Jeez, yeah.
It's like 0.22%.
Yeah, per stream.
So it's like ridiculous, you know. I mean, recently I saw the amount of streams we had, and I was like,
stupid.
Oh, man, we got a ton of streams this month. And I go into TuneCore, and it's like $400 in there.
Yeah.
But you know, it is what it is. You know?
Yeah.
Now
you do some stuff at Patriarchs of Black once in a while, right?
Yeah. I've been on the past 3 albums of this.
Yeah.
Like Dan knows. I know Dan actually. He reached out to me early. I know Dan from back in the day.
Nonfiction and
was in when he was in
Hades.
Right. He was in a couple of different bands, but Hades was like, you know, one of the, you know, everybody knew about Hades. So, but I didn't know Dan personally. He was, you know, he's a little bit older than I am and whatnot. But I knew of Hades. And but when we released the first Blackwater Rising album, he reached out to me on, I believe, on MySpace. It might have been MySpace or Facebook. Maybe it was Facebook he reached out to me. But he was like, hey, you know, I just wanted to let you know I love what you guys are doing, you know. And he was like, I'm a guitar player. I'm also, you know, I was in this band called Hades. I was like, holy shit, Hades. I was like, I heard of you guys. I was like, yeah, I know of Hades. And then we just started talking, and we kind of got to know each other. And he sent me a bunch of Hades albums, which was awesome. And he was like, yeah, we should do some work. We should get together and work on some material. I was like, yeah, man, I'm into it. And he had told me about this project that he was doing early on with Patriots in Black, and that he was working with Johnny. And I was like, oh, that's fucking awesome. And that guy, man, he's prolific. I mean, he's always writing. Always.
Oh God. Four albums in 4 years with Patriots in Black. It's nuts.
Yeah. He's just like, and he was telling me already. He's like, he's got an album ready to go. I'm like, Jesus,
Oh yeah.
calm down.
I know.
Like, he's like, can you do a song? Can you do a song? I'm like, I think I'm gonna have to sit this next one out. It's like, but yeah, he would reach out to me, would send me a song, you know, just the music. Like, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? And I would pick one. I'd be like, this is cool. I could come up with some melodies and lyrics for this. And that's basically how we worked that. And he told me he was working with other people, great vocalists and other musicians, great bass players. And I was like, wow, yeah, this is an honor to be a part of this, you know? Yeah. So I did a song on the past 3 albums, you know? So
yeah. And I've told him, I know Dan, and I've told him, like, dude, he should, you know, do a show. Like, you should just do a show one time and get everybody, all the singers to come.
Yeah, good luck.
I know it's not gonna happen. I mean, I know it's not gonna happen, but he's, you know, he ain't gonna do it. But yeah, it would be cool though, because I mean, with yourself and Carl Gell, just so many great singers on those
Mark
records.
Sunshine.
Yeah, Mark Sunshine. Yeah,
Mark Sunshine from UNITA.
But you think about it, I mean, these guys are all over the place, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Fly everybody in to play like one show.
I know.
They
Maybe
maybe
we came up with like a string of shows, you know, like 3 nights or something, you know.
Yeah.
But you know, I don't know. Yeah. It's more like just like a recording project type of thing. I had mentioned it to him, or even getting one vocalist to sing the song.
Yeah.
Go at it. I mean, it's a great catalog of music. It's you know.
Oh yeah.
I think it would be awesome if you got somebody to come out and, you know, do like a tour of the songs, you know. So
yeah.
He could definitely do that. But he'll probably have like 4 or 5 other bands this month that'll create.
Probably, I know.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows what he's planning, Dan? He's
you know, we've talked to Kenny and Johnny before. We always ask him, of course, like everyone asks him about, you know, if they would ever do a typo, just a show, a celebration.
Right.
What do you think of that? Is that because, you know, it's, you know, some people are like, no way, you can't do it without Peter. I mean, being the fact that, you knew Peter and everything. I mean, do you think that's something that?
I think it would all depend on how they went about it. About promoting it and what it was being promoted as, because I mean, clearly it's, you know, Pete's not there. It's not typo negative. There's just no friggin' way. I mean, you know, I mean, everything about that band was, you know, I mean, I'm not taking anything away from those guys, but let's just face the facts here. He was
absolutely
fundamental. You know, he was, while those guys are gears in the machine, he was the machine.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So totally. It's like, you know, to not, you know, if it's, I hate to say it, I mean, you even look at a band like Pantera. I mean, Dimebag, I mean, you know, and even Vinny. I mean, everybody in that band was, you know, Dimebag and Vinny. It's like, even with those guys not there, it's not the same. It's just not, you know. So I guess they look at it, you know, because you got the voice, you got Phil.
Yeah.
So I guess it's kind of like you could kind of skate by with that, but you got the voice that's missing. You got the presence, the presence that's missing. You know, you got the way he plays. Just he had a unique way, even playing the bass. I mean, you know, you hear other people play, you know. Just his whole sound, even his sound. I don't think anybody can get his sound that he had.
No way.
It's just like, you know, so you can't. It just can't be done. Now, if it was something that was like saying, like, you know, it's a celebration of type of something like that, or, you know, and have different vocals, but still, I don't know. It just doesn't seem right. I think it's the type of thing with a situation like that where you just got to let that be. That's like the type of thing you don't want to fuck with, you know?
Yeah.
Like I'm one of those people, like people always ask me, like, they're like, why don't you do a cover? Why don't you do a cover of something? You know, you guys should do a cover of something. And a lot of times I've thought about it because, you know, growing up as a kid, I've played so many cover songs, you know, because that's how I would learn, you know? And I would never touch another song because I just feel like even doing a cover, it's just like, I'm never going to do the cover justice. I don't give a shit how well you do it. You're never going to do a cover true because the cover is the song. It's like, so if you're doing a cover of it, it's like, really, what are you doing? You know, it's like,
you have to reimagine it.
Yeah.
Reimagine, but you know, there's no reimagining. To me, it's like, you know, a song is like, a classic song is just like, the magic is there. You're not going to reproduce the magic.
I agree. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You could definitely do an awesome cover of something, you know?
Yeah.
Like I remember when Rush came out with a cover album, that everybody was all guest musicians that were doing covers of Rush songs.
Oh, okay.
So you had all these bands that were doing it.
Right.
I remember listening to it. I was like, this is cool. Like, oh, cool. Billy Sheehan is doing a Rush song. Oh, cool. You know, King's X is doing a Rush song. Oh, cool. You know, this.
Right.
But I was like, you know, listening to it, yeah, cool. You know, it wasn't.
Not the same Rush. Yeah.
It wasn't Rush.
Yeah.
I'm gonna sit down and listen to this again. I'm
I
going
know
to
what you mean.
listen to Rush.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
So that's why I've never personally ever touched a cover. It's like another song. It's like people take, you know, when you do cover, it's like I'm not doing a cover. It's like, you know, I'm lucky if I do my own shit good enough. Like I'm not gonna worry about doing somebody else's song.
Oh, awesome, man.
That's hilarious.
Oh, well, Rob, I mean, anything else you want to, you know, let our audience know, man, about the band, anything they can expect other than obviously they can all, it's out now, obviously, The Edge. I'm going to bring it up here again. Yeah, just and let everyone know what's the best place for them to go and check out everything.
Well, if you want to get a copy of the CD, I mean, everything is on our website at blackwaterrising.com or blackwaterrising.net. We pretty much got them all, but just blackwaterrising.com. We got CDs and merch. That's where our CD outlet is. As for streaming, I mean, you could stream the album anywhere. You know, we also have it on Bandcamp. You can download it off of that. But it's available anywhere there's streaming, and YouTube. Obviously, we got a bunch of videos up there, and you know, check it out if you dig what we're doing. You like the music, you know, welcome aboard, man. You know, that's basically how we're doing it. You know, we just get out there and expose people to the music, as many people as we can, and just build up people that like what we're doing, and we just continue to do it. That's it, you know?
Yeah, it's a great record. So
Yeah,
I mean,
thank you.
absolutely great record, man.
Yeah.
It's a good one, and folks. If you do like Blackwater Rising, you know, go to their Facebook, Instagram, Spotify, like them, follow them, all that good stuff, so that way you can potentially see updates about them when it comes to the social media algorithms.
Releasing new music, getting out there. We're definitely gonna be doing shows. Definitely gonna be doing, you know, it's gonna happen.
Yeah. So, and it's just a good way to help the band, obviously, in all those 3 or 4 different platforms, Apple, whatever. And having you as a follower on Spotify helps them if they're trying to book stuff later on down the road as well, because that's a big part of what talent buyers and booking agents and promoters, we look at that. We look at your actual.
We're just getting out there. We're just getting them. Our whole thing is we just get the music out there. If you dig it and you like it, people will listen to it, and they listen to it, and then they generate streams for the artist, and we make money to reinvest into the music and to continue doing what we're doing.
For the love of music, Rob.
That's
for the love of rock and roll. That's
exactly. That's the only reason why I do this, because I just love doing it. If I didn't do this, I don't know what I would do. You know, it's like I just love making music, and I love the whole process. I love recording. That's a big part of it. I love just sitting in the studio and smoking a fatty like I often do.
Nice.
Sitting there just writing music, just coming up with shit. I mean, things like that would be like, what the hell, you know? But just having a good time, you know?
Yeah.
Different sounds.
Some
things flesh out, become music. Some things don't. It's just a good time. It's always a good time.
Rob, you're such a good musician, you know, frontman, singer, guitar player, the whole thing. Phenomenal. My hopes are that somehow or another we get you on the Doom charts, which, you know, more and more can be a little wide variety. So we got some codes out there, and just the recognition is that we need bands like you as part of this bigger, broader, heavy hard rock scene.
Agreed.
Instead of people calling it just stoner rock. It's literally heavy rock, hard rock.
Right.
Yeah.
Stoner rock is just a stupid term. Like the 3 of us, we might like to smoke and get stoned, but I don't necessarily want to call the music stoner rock.
Yeah, I don't know. That's why sometimes when people, they tell me, like, you know, oh, you guys are like stoner or whatever. I'm like, I don't know. I mean, what? Because I got a couple like Black Sabbath sounding riffs and I smoke.
No, it's just because people have a hard time really.
Right.
They want to immediately think. They want to peg things in, plot things in real quick. And I always tell people, you call it stoner rock, but just remember, the second word is rock. So let's
focus on the rock.
Well, that's what I tell people. When people ask me what this band is, I usually just tell them that we're no frills riff rock.
Okay. That's a good way
No
to put it.
frills riff rock. You know, take it from there.
Good shit, man.
That's pretty much what we are.
Yeah.
The roots of good rock and roll.
That's
It's great stuff. These guys are cool cats along the way.
Thank you.
And Rob, thanks
Great
for
record.
popping on, man, and hanging out
Yeah.
a little.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
It's about who's got the passion, man, you know? Who's into music for real?
You know, the apple didn't fall far from the tree.
It's Trev's daddy, you know, he's big as shit, you know, it's Bill Church.
My dad was always in bands. People know my dad from Montrose, Sammy Hagar, Van Morrison.
We used to be such a tight unit, and we would always do things together as a unit.
The infighting just got worse and worse and worse.
Didn't actually seem like we were living up to the hype, I guess you could say, in like a business sense.
But everybody in this band gets along really, really well. We're four brothers. We really are.
The rock and roll cliche. Yeah, we were a rock and roll cliche, you know. But shit went down and stuff was done.
Like there's no bands here, man.
Wasteland. Like it's where local bands go to die.
They said they did not want me in the band.
Eric was the driver and the glue behind that band.
It was a struggle in the beginning with the business, but now it's basically paying off for all my dreams.
For me, it's like me up against all the Van Halen kids.
He's quest driven. His dad got cut. It's like Luke Skywalker.
We know our clock is done, our time is up, but we just do it because we like to do it.
SoCal Heavy Jam, a bunch of friends throwing down on a great stage with an amazing sound system.
If I stopped and I got out of the band, I think I'd really still enjoy putting it on.
One of the premier scenes for heavy rock in America.
There is a group of knuckleheads that like this stuff, and I think we're having a freaking blast doing it.
In ways, it's more fun now, I think, because we don't do any of the stupid shit you did back then, you know?
Why do I do it? Because, you know, the easiest answer, because I love doing it.